Hi, everyone. We are United by Rice, where we talk about all things API and H. My name is Junko Goda, and I'm here with my co-host Ben Lee.
Hey, Jinko, how are you?
I'm good. I guess it's
Well,
been
our
quite a couple
our
days
guest,
since I last saw you. No, no, no.
yes,
Yes,
people listening never know how long it's been in between our recordings. It could be 10 minutes, it could be days and days,
very
but
true.
yeah, but we did just talk yesterday. But it's good to reconnect today. There's
Mm-hmm.
always plenty to talk about,
Yep.
and our guest for today's show that we will play. Actually, a pretty extended interview is Celia Ao, who is an actress. She's in New York, but she's an Asian American actress from originally from Hong Kong. Has been in lots of TV shows. Really an up and coming actress, and she's got a film called Last Call, or stars in a film called Last Call, which is playing at the Fantasia Film Fest. It's really focused on fantasy horror type of genre up in Montreal this weekend, or on the 3rd, if I recall the exact date.
Yeah, and it's a short film, and it scared the sweet bejesus out of Ben that he can't watch it again.
It really did. It really did.
Very memorable, I would have to
Yeah,
then say.
yeah. Well, and I will tell everybody, first of all, listen to the conversation, because it's a very good conversation around not just her work on this film, but we dive into the business of trying to make films in this post-COVID, post-writer strike, post-actor strike
Yeah.
era, right? And
Yep.
her career was on a great trajectory. I'm sure it will continue, but there have been bumps, and trying to get these films made and distributed is definitely one of them. Speaking of, like, the film, and the word I would describe the most is haunting, right? It is definitely in kind of the horror, body horror. I think it's described as acid folk horror, which I don't even know what that
Yeah.
means.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it's 7 minutes, and I can remember almost every second of it, even though it's been months, months, months since I've watched it. So, and that's what, I think good storytellers, good filmmakers do, right? They create films that last.
Yeah, and from like a filmmaker's perspective, definitely I mentioned this during the interview, but it definitely pays homage to that uh let's see, about mid late 70s, early 80s experimental, especially what was going on with Japan. There are definitely flavors of Hausu in there, and that and Winnie Chung, who's the director of it, definitely takes an experimental turn and in her storytelling throughout the 7 minutes, which probably re-emphasized the hauntingness of it, because it's almost like uh it's a, we're following along the story. We're like, is this real? Is she experiencing it as a dream? Where um and and that, I guess, the dreamlike state is really expressed through the experimental lens of Winnie Chang.
Yeah. Watching short films is always an experience, right? It is amazing how much talented filmmakers can pack into, whether it's 7 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe on the longer side. And again, excuse me, it really speaks to filmmakers, storytellers who are, whether you call it art house or whatnot, they're really trying to do something different. As
Yeah.
a sudden segue or pivot to a different form of storytelling,
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you last week, had you seen the Mortal Kombat 2 trailer? Which, let's face it, a lot of our Asian American family and friends over the years I'm sure, are big Mortal Kombat fans.
Yeah, well, between, when you brought it up and now, yes, I have seen it. Also known as I just saw it 5 minutes ago with Leanne, our producer.
Yeah,
We're like, let's watch this.
yeah,
And so we were just like, okay, okay. I mean, Mortal Kombat 1, when they, revived it, was pretty solid, so I think people are expecting something just as good for 2. That's kind of all I really know.
took away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, the reason I bring it up is
Mm-hmm.
because it stars a couple people that you know really well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hiroyuki Sanada and
Right.
Tadanobu Asano. So both coming off
Mhm.
the show Shogun. And I remember watching this trailer a week ago and thinking, okay, yeah, this movie, Mortal Kombat, I'm sure it's made to be popcorn movie. It's made to be fun. I'm I think if it probably will do. Actually, I guess it's hard to predict how films will do in the theaters these days, but
Yeah.
it will probably do reasonably well, right? It's one of those
Mhm.
like IPs that has a history, has a following, and action, blood,
Yeah, yeah,
people like that stuff.
yeah.
Um, but I couldn't help but having this feeling of, man, we just watched Hiro Yuki win every single
Mm.
award this past year for his role in Shogun, and we saw Tadanobu get nominated and win,
Yeah.
and then the next thing that I'm really seeing them in is a trailer for Mortal Kombat 2, and I'm like, oh no, why? Why does this have to happen? These are
It's
our
just timing.
but
I mean,
I know, but it's like well, I know, but right, like
mm,
this is where I'm going to drill into this, right?
mm,
Because in many ways, these are now we have to call them like our beloved Asian award-worthy actors,
mhm.
and you would hope that that would be. They're, we're not talking about 20-year-olds, so we're not talking about like this needs to launch their career.
Yeah, yeah, but I always think there's always that transitional thing. There's always gonna be that project that comes out with this weird timing of someone's, um, career having another peak, and then you have a pre-peak something that comes out. That's just kinda part of the riding the wave.
Look, I'm sure they signed the contracts to be in this film before Shogun even aired, right? Like, to your point, timing, you can't control all
Yeah.
these
I mean,
things.
they already shot it like 2, 3,
Yeah,
2.5 years ago, 3 years ago? Something like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but it's just like this boy. Like, would Colin Farrell have to be in a Mortal Kombat movie, right? Like, that was kind of the feeling I had, right?
But
Like,
Colin Farrell is also in the Batman franchise.
but he's winning Emmys for it, right? Or at least
Yeah. Yeah,
nominated for things for it.
yeah.
So,
But,
okay,
before winning, would Colin Farrell
yeah,
been like, kind of, do I
point
wanna enter
taken.
the Batman universe?
Point
And
taken.
then I
As a
could see them.
background, yeah,
Yeah,
as a
yeah, yeah.
background character, even, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, point taken. Maybe Colin Farrell's not the perfect example, but um, and look, I'll never begrudge an actor. It's not like Hero. I, I guess I don't know how famous Hero and Tadanobu are in Japan, but I'm sure they haven't made like Brad Pitt money. So I'll never begrudge an actor for
Yeah.
taking a paycheck too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe some is strategy, and then there's just the timing thing. Um, but it is a big established franchise. And you know what? I think the other thing is that probably Tom Cruise and them are the kind of the last true A-list stars. You will never see them on TV, that star from the 80s, and now we're in a different model where we don't pedestal them because they're just a movie star. It's they're good because they're in a whole bunch of streaming shows to limited series to movies to kind of everything. And I think um maybe, yeah, being a little bit older, we kind of need to like start breaking that mold of like, oh, they went from a movie to a series, or they went from Shogun to a video game series.
Mm.
Um,
Okay, you're enlightening me, right? Because now if I think
yeah,
of things like the Super Bowl and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon showing up in Dunkin' Donut
yeah,
commercials.
yeah,
Okay, all right, maybe I can be convinced here that for the sake of an actor's resume that they can do all these different turns, and
yeah,
maybe to quote Celia from our interview, if you're hot, you're hot, and it's better to
yeah,
like stay visible than it is to be overly selective about projects.
yeah. I mean, if I'm ever blessed to have the opportunity like that, I've been like saying yes to everything for a while.
What are you talking about? Like, you're talking about like the next podcast doesn't have to be like, one of Time's top 100 podcasts before you
Yeah.
say yes to them.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So, but yeah, so Celia, yeah, we had a nice meaty podcast with Celia. We touched upon um, her short film Last Call, and also it's The Residency, or is it Residency?
Well, Residency is Winnie's film.
Winnie's film,
That
yeah. That she's
yeah,
also, but Celia's also has a producer hat on that. So
I
she's
see. Yeah,
starting to kind of branch into, we obviously talk about her acting career, but especially with COVID hitting and all of us creatives trying to figure out different avenues, she's actually starting to bring filmmakers and films along as a producer too. So that's
yeah.
a pretty cool
Actually,
thing.
I do hope like a lot of maybe want to become, whether it's actors, producers, directors, listen to the last episode or listen to this episode with Celia, because I found her very inspirational, right? Like she was kind of a go-getter. Like, I'm on this set as a background actor, but I'm going to talk to this person and get some tips and meet them for lunch. It's
I
like
feel
just
like
kind
that's
of
her Brooklyn coming through.
maybe, right? But it
That's what
talks
she
about
is, yeah.
the hustle, and it talks about like, and then someone told me I need to take more acting classes, so I went and took more acting classes. So I don't think she ever sat on her laurels, took her success for granted, and continues to kind of keep building up herself, building up her skill set, if you want to call it. And yeah, I think she can do a lot of things, and it looks like her and Winnie are forming, an interesting
Mm,
creative
yeah.
pairing, right? Because they've
Yeah.
now done a couple projects, and she referenced a third that they'd like to get off the ground. And
Mm,
they're going to be
yeah.
scary, I'm pretty sure, but maybe because they're a part of it, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
So, well, any other closing thoughts before we hand it over
Yeah, I
to
think
Celia?
we can jump right into Celia for sure.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. Here's Celia.
Hey, and we are back. We're reunited by Rice. I'm Junko Goda and Ben Lee, and our guest today is Celia. Celia. Hi, Celia.
Yeah, hi Celia. And Celia is
Hello.
actually one of the rare guests, Junko, I'm going to say, after doing what we've done 24, 25 episodes, that we've actually both met in person, right? I think
Separately,
so.
different
Yes,
occasion as well.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So I'll go first. I met Celia at South by in the Austin version earlier this year. Actually, not for her film, which we're going to talk about, called Last Call, but I think you were just supporting the Gold House. Gold House had a pitch event where
Hmm.
I think 6 or 9 films that they had shortlisted to put in front of potential investors were presenting. I think Olivia Chang maybe was one of the filmmakers, and I think you were there, if I recall. You were just there to friendly support.
Yeah, I actually have
Yeah.
a couple of friends that were doing presentations that day, and I was helping doing the clicker for Olivia's
Nice.
presentation.
Yeah. You did a nice job of that because they had technical problems too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and then we subsequently, I got a hold of your film, and which is, as we know, directed by Winnie Chung, who we will have on most likely in the future. But that's our storied history together. Junko, how do you two know each other?
Through Jeff. I'm like, through Jeff Yang. I believe he is in Vancouver right now, shooting
Oh,
the rest of the cooking show with his son, Hudson. I guess the first half was in Taiwan, second half is in Vancouver. It'll probably premiere, I guess, early next year or late this year,
season
something
two,
like that.
right?
Yeah, they're in season 2. Yeah. So yeah, I was in New York for work. That was probably New York Comic Con time, and I was, just like, I have free time, and Jeff's like, oh, I'm hanging out with Celia. Come over. So I
And
went over,
Junko,
showed up, had a beer.
I'd love to give our listeners enough credit, but I'm not sure everybody knows Jeff Yang, or Hudson. You want to
Yeah,
give
yeah.
us 20
So
seconds?
yeah, Hudson Yang played the lead child in Fresh Off the Boat, and Hudson's father is Jeff Yang, who is a regular writer on opinion pieces, most often in like Wall Street Journal and other outlets. And as kind of father son duo, they're foraying, I guess, in the like the food documentary reality space last couple years. So yeah, just for
Well, Celia,
context.
Celia, why don't you just tell us about yourself, for folks that
Yeah.
haven't had the pleasure of meeting you? I mean, I think I've seen you obviously in some of the films that you've shared with us, like Last Call, on more kind of mainstream TV. People may have seen you on shows like Nora from Queens, or you're just talking about SWAT, for instance. But how did you, where did you were born, growing up, and how did you eventually find your way into this business?
Oh my God, that's a long story, guys. And hey everyone, I'm Celia Au, and I'm mostly known as an actor, but now I'm also producing. We'll see how that one goes. So I grew up. I was born in Hong Kong, but I grew up in New York City ever since I was like 3.5, 4 years old. Um, how I got into this business. So my parents owned a video store. So growing up, I grew up in my parents' video store, watching a lot of Hong Kong films and American films, Japanese and Korean as well. Then I always thought that I would take over my parents' video store, and that's what I was gonna do. Eventually, you guys know how everything went for video stores. They don't exist anymore. I then went on a track to becoming a lawyer, thinking that, hey, a lawyer is like the most real life superhero we can find out there. Um, Studying after a couple of years in a specialized track in middle school and in high school, I realized I don't want to be a lawyer. And then senior year of high school, I took a marketing advertising class, and I'm like, oh, I love this. We learned about subliminal advertising. I'm like, that's a superpower. 30 seconds to like brainwash people. I want to do that. So I studied advertising in college, and in a business school studying advertising, I took an acting 101 class because I was like, let me get some easy A's. The end of that semester, I asked my professor, I'm like, how does an actor make a living? They're just playing make believe. It doesn't make sense to me. And his answer was like, well, if I know, I wouldn't be teaching here. My response was like, I'll prove you wrong. So I went online and Googled how to become an actor with no clue whatsoever. I was lucky enough that my school photographer for our school newspaper thought I looked like a character from Final Fantasy and wanted to
Nice.
do a photo
which
shoot with
which
me.
character? I have other questions, but I'll quickly interrupt you for which character, because I'm sure people listening are Final Fantasy friends
I
or
used to have a
fans.
mohawk, so he thought I looked like Pain.
Ah.
And I was like, oh, really? And he was like, yeah, like your hair, because I have a mohawk in the front and then like a ponytail in the back. And he was like, you look like Pain. Can we do a photo shoot? And I'm like, sure. So we did that photo shoot. So I have headshots, or I thought it was
Okay.
headshots. Maybe it wasn't. Um, and then I went on, this is going to age me. I went on Craigslist under entertainment. And then I saw a job opening for acting. And I was like, oh, okay, just apply. And then they're like, oh, send me your picture. I send in a picture. And then they're like, you got the job. I'm like, wow, acting's so easy, guys. On behold, it was a job for background. And I had no idea what that meant. I showed up on set. I was non-union. I sat there for maybe 16 hours or 12 to 16 hours doing nothing. And I was like, well, this is a waste of my time. Just so happened in that episode, there was an Asian guest star. And I couldn't tell like who's the lead actors, who's not, who's famous, who's not. I'm really bad with that. I'm a little better nowadays, but still pretty bad at that.
Yep, I'm same thing.
And he was walking off, and I was like, hey man, this sucks. You're probably the only Asian on the show and you're getting picked on. F this shit. And then he was like, hi, my name is John. What's your name? I'm like, hi, my name is Celia. Do you want to become an actor? I'm like, no, not after today. This sucks. And he was like, well, what you're doing is called background acting. And I'm like, what does that mean? He was like, you're literally filling in the background. Then he described what it means to be a guest star and what he's doing. He goes, hey, if you want to learn more about it, like I can meet you up like at lunch for school one day and then tell you more about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I did. And he was like, if you want to give this a try, I'll introduce you to my manager and my agent and my manager. And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? YOLO. And then, because I was like in school in the city anyway. So I met his agent and he goes, I have no idea what you're doing here. You have no idea what you're doing. So goodbye. And I was like, okay, fine. And then I met his managers. And his managers were like, you're really cute. You have no idea what you're doing. You need to take acting classes because you don't know how to act. But let's try. So the first audition I went on was for a music video, and I booked that music video. And then I booked a couple other music videos. Then I auditioned for some film and TV stuff, and I sucked at it. And I was like, oh, I should take some acting classes. So one thing led to another. I took some acting classes, and the very first film I did, I didn't even have a speaking part because I was so bad. This is what happened. I got an audition. I got a call back, and the director tried so hard to make it work for me, and I just couldn't do it. And he was like, okay, thanks, Celia, bye. Then I get a call from the casting director. They're like, he really likes you. Would you do a non-speaking part in this movie? And I was like, sure. And that movie was called Beware of the Gonzo, starring Zoe Kravitz and Ezra Miller. And did that movie. We're still friends. The director and the producer and I kept in touch and actually reconnected with them more at South by this year.
Good. Yeah.
Then I was like, oh man, I should take like serious acting classes. And I did, and I booked my second film, was called Detachment, starring that has a huge cast. That stars Adrian Brody, Marsha Gay Harden, Lucy Liu, Blythe Danner, Tim Blake Nelson, etc. I forgot. Who else? Christina Hendricks. And then each one, and James Caan, and each one of the adults deal with like their bad student in a high school. So my scene partner was James Caan in my first speaking part in any movie.
The
And
late James Caan, the late great James Caan.
Yeah, the late great James Caan, and he was lovely. He was like telling me like, "Oh, kid, this is how Hollywood used to be, and Hollywood's no longer the same." So I learned a lot on that movie, and I kept in touch with the director. The director is Tony Kaye, who did American History X. So, and I was like, "Can I pick your brain about like filmmaking?" And he was like, "Absolutely." And I became friends with some crew member, and then I learned more about filmmaking, took more serious acting classes, and like I think the teacher that changed my life was Anthony Apeson. And his most famous student is Jennifer Aniston, and she talks about him a lot. And he was like, there's not a single way that works for every single actor. He was like, every actor is kind of like a combination lock, and you just have to find the right combination to unlock the treasures inside. And I think that kind of opened my mind up, because the other classes I was taking, it was like, this one technique is only this one technique. You do it this way and no other way. And for him, he finds the right way for the actor themselves. So I learned a lot from him. And because of that, then I booked a couple more films. And in late 2017, early 2018, I booked my first bigger, I'm going to put in quotes, bigger part on a TV show. I was recurring on the AMC show called Lodge 49. And then shortly after that, I booked my first series regular on a Netflix show called Wu Assassins. And then the pandemic hit. And now
yeah, we'll talk about that, because that definitely probably without question slows things down, as it has for everybody. But it sounds like a very good trajectory up until that moment. So many questions, and I have so many questions in your story. First of all, like, where did you go to middle school where there was like a legal track starting in 6th, 7th, 8th grade?
So I went to this middle school called Christa McAuliffe. And there's 3 tracks, 3 academies when I was there: Scientific Academy, the Humanities Academy, and Global Communications. And I was part of Global Communications. So in Global Communications, you take law classes, business classes. So you learn about the stock market. We did something called a stock market game. And when we were in middle school at the time, our school every year would take us on a school trip. So one year would be DC, the other year would be Philadelphia, and then one year was in Virginia. And then our senior year trip was to Italy. I didn't go, but which was pretty cool. I heard it's not a thing anymore nowadays. And then in high school, I went to a high school called Tottenville High School on Staten Island. And then I followed like a law program in Staten Island until my junior year. And then I switched to advertising my senior year.
I see. Because my background, actually, I have similar themes, but a very different like trajectory, which is I didn't even think about being a lawyer until college. But at the same time, because I went to school, studied political science, but then within a couple of years decided I actually don't think I want to be a lawyer. So what am I going to do with all this? And ended up actually in marketing. And
Oh,
similar skill sets. I always think of political science as you learn coalition building, you learn negotiation, you learn debate. These are skills that you can use in things like business, right, or
hmm,
marketing. So I felt like I learned something, but boy, to think that you might. How did your parents probably liked the lawyer track more than the actor track? I'm guessing.
absolutely. I was actually invited to the White House to study law and policies with the president at the time.
Wow,
Um,
wow.
but my mom was like, "No, you're not going. It's too far." And then I was like, "Okay." And then there was also a couple of world events that she was like, "Oh, I don't feel comfortable
Mm.
that you're going to somewhere in DC where like it's a target." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, fine." And my
Mm.
teachers went back like, "Did you know that only like one student in each region gets chosen and you said no to it?" And I was like, "No." And then I had like a hand signed letter from the president. It was like, "I would welcome you to study with us for a week at the White House." And I'm like, "That's pretty cool." My life would have been maybe like way different if I ended up at the White House
Maybe.
for the week.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
knows? But
Who
probably
knows?
not as interesting or fun.
Yeah. You know, like I thought as a lawyer you can change the world, but I feel like actually the power is in storytelling.
Mhm.
So what we're doing right now, even like Ben and Junko, your storytelling can change the world.
Yeah, but
And
that's also with in the courtroom though, right? They always train lawyers to be good storytellers. You got to sell your whatever the hell
that's why
you're
I love being on the
defending or whatever.
defense when I was in school.
Mm,
Ah,
I love
yeah,
arguing with people.
yeah. Well,
but
that's
so
that's
that's just not a
that's
New
the
Yorker
thing.
thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is the appeal of that track of law. Cecilia, you, I have an interesting question for you because in doing what we do, I've met a number of actors, and there's all types actors that I've gone through Juilliard, and then you have actors who, yeah, I just like showed up at a audition and got this part and whatnot. And your story is a little bit in between, where it's like, oh, can you actually make a living acting? And it sounds like you progressively feel like you've gotten better as an actor over the years through acting classes, acting school. A question that I've always wanted to. I've never even asked Junko this question, but at what point do you stop? Right, because
When you look at your checking account.
yeah, well, and maybe that's it, right? It's a financial decision too. But at what point do you feel for yourself that you've hit your potential? That may be a real difficult question
My
to
potential. I that's a
to yeah.
yeah. So
In
to
other words,
satisfy my parents,
where no more classes will help you, and it's just experience at this point.
but then I think never because you will always be learning. Something that I've learned from um a friend of mine, another actor actually, his name is Justin Chong. And
Sure,
I
yeah.
think he's a great actor and he still takes acting classes. He was like, you got to keep improving and you learn. I think we just don't take as much classes, like maybe not as frequent as we used to, but you're always learning. And
Yeah, and
I
I,
think
I
life
yeah.
experiences also helps you with acting a lot.
Yeah, and I think like for me personally, I think my lodestone I think is actually fear. Like whatever scares me, I will most likely go towards it, which means I will never hit uh, a zenith in my life if I'm always looking for what scares me.
Make
You know?
sure we don't go
Mm.
into a haunted house with Junko.
There you go. That is right. Well, speaking of fear, okay, let's talk about Last Call now. That's a perfect segue.
Yeah.
So, in terms of things that are scary, I shared before we started recording that I watched it. The You sent me the link, so just kind of set the scene. I'm in Austin. I'm in my hotel room. I'm sure I'd been drinking free whiskeys all night, and I get back to my hotel room. It's probably like 1:32 a.m. all by myself. And I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this, film that someone I met at Gold House gave me to watch. And, I'm thinking about the Asian American diaspora. I'm thinking it's going to be some type of coming of age, film. No, I had no idea what it was going to be about. I knew nothing about Celia. I knew nothing about Winnie. And I turned it on and I was like, what the fuck is this? I was just going to, it's like, it's short. It's like 7 minutes. And I mean, I don't even know how to start describing it. And what I said to you both before we started recording is it just is haunting, right? Maybe it's horror, maybe it's body horror. There's some deep, probably feminist form of message in here somewhere that I need to think about. But it also gave me the heebie-jeebies like you wouldn't believe, to the point where preparing for this podcast, like, okay, I should probably rewatch this, and I can never actually hit play. Okay. So, it did its job, I suppose, in terms of at least like generating an emotion. And it certainly, the reason why we make art is because then we get to talk about it. Junko, you just watched this. What did you think of Last Call, and what was your
Yeah, I think
interpretation of it? Because then we get to ask Celia, what was it supposed to tell us?
yeah, I mean, my first, just I saw the tip of the hat to like Obayashi's Houseu from, what was it, 1977? I looked it up from the 70s. But that whole era, probably in the late 70s, early 80s, of that kind of style. So yeah, I mean, I appreciated it for kind of bringing that into the 21st century with the different themes of like feminism. Like you would never see you would see themes of feminism in the 70s, but through a male lens,
Yes.
not through Winnie's. So so I appreciated all those like taking that and updating it. So,
And maybe, Celia, before we talk too much more about it, just because most people listening probably couldn't have seen it, can you give like a quick log line of
Last Call?
Yeah,
So
if such thing exists.
I think I can give you a log line. Last Call follows a character named Claudia through her discovery of facing her fears and her sexuality and awakening.
Now, this is a very quick log line.
Is that the log line supposed to be a sentence, right?
Yeah, no,
I've been
that's
trying to give a lot of log lines, and I've been failing at it being too long.
Yeah. But that was good though.
Yeah, that was good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is a succinct piece too. So.
But definitely an art house piece, right? And Celia stars as Claudia, and film is directed by Winnie. Now, my understanding is this was a Kickstarter project at one point in time.
Yeah, actually, this project has gone through a lot of different iterations, because I met Winnie right before the pandemic. Literally, she was like, called my team and like, hey, can I meet Celia? I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to meet another Asian female filmmaker. And as we were meeting, the news was going off of people need masks in Asia. People need masks in Europe. And I was like, hey, actually, Winnie, after our meeting, I'm going to try to get some masks and send it to people in Europe and Asia. Shortly after that, it was like game over for us. Because she was originally like, she has a bigger idea. The script was longer. It was supposed to shoot out in Florida. Of course, the pandemic happened. All of that went away. Then she brought the film back at, I want to say like 2021, end of 2021. Flew in a bunch of people. And again, bigger script at the time. She just rewrote the locations to New York City. Everyone was rehearsing. People like our producers, all the producers flew in. Everyone's working. And the original girl that was supposed to play the snake lady and I was having a dance rehearsal. There was supposed to be a big dance sequence. And we're rehearsing. I'm like, you don't look too good. And she was like, I just flew from Copenhagen. Like, I think I'm just under the weather. But I did a COVID test. It was negative. I'm like, okay. And then she was like, can you take off your masks? Because it's easier for me to connect with people while dancing. And I'm like, yeah, of course. So we did the dance rehearsal. And then I was like, you should take the day off. I was like, rest up so we can start shooting tomorrow. And then Winnie's like, yeah, I agree. Like, you don't look too well. Why don't you go take a rest? And she's like, just to be safe, let's do another COVID test. Next morning, driving to set, Winnie calls me, turn around, Celia.
No.
And I was like, oh no,
Quarantine.
what happened?
Oh no.
She's like, I have to cancel the shoot. Like, it's not shoot. They had COVID. You're probably going to have COVID. Please go home and lock yourself up.
Lock yourself up.
I did not get
That's where we were though at that time.
Yeah.
That's where we were. Yeah.
And then we canceled the whole shoot. She flew
Yep.
everybody back, and she was like, "Oh my god, I don't have money to
Oh,
make the movie again."
that
Yeah,
What
what
do
a
we do?
sucks.
disaster. What a
Mm.
disaster. Like, for folks that maybe don't appreciate, like, we're talking about small budget projects that, one shooting day thrown away or a whole shoot, and that's the whole budget.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
because we had
yeah.
location, we had crew, we had equipment. So
Mm.
Winnie then sat down, was like, "What do we do?" And I was like, "Let's rewrite this." And she was like, "Yeah, I think so too." She started rewriting it, and she was like, "I'm gonna make it a little bit more experimental, a
Mm.
little bit more artsy, so we can cut down on the cast. We can make it smaller and still have the same story portrayed through the lens." And then back 2024, she started shooting it on like weekends. Like
Mm.
whenever she was like, "Hey, I'm free this weekend. Is everyone free? If so, like let's shoot."
Wow. Okay.
But I love Winnie for the fact she's like, "I don't ever want anyone to work for me for free." So she would go make money. She's an editor by trade as well. So she would make money editing, and then like, "I have saved enough money, let's shoot a day." And then she'll go back and she'll like, "I made money, let's shoot another day." Then we got the film done. And then we ran into another issue
Hmm.
was the whole fantasy stuff that she planned
Yeah.
out. I'm like, "How are we gonna shoot it?"
Uh.
She was like, I don't know. And then that's when like volumetric walls were becoming a popular thing.
Yep.
And I met with one company, and I was like, "Hey, would you lend us the wall and I'll give you some really cool content, or can you produce with us?"
Yeah.
Company said yes, but the company was
Yes.
within NYU, and
Mm.
NYU was like,
Uh.
They can do it for free for you, and they can give you whatever discount they want. You need to pay NYU union rates for the
Mm.
custodian and everyone else." And we're like, "Well, we can't afford that." So that went away, and then we're like, "Oh my god, I don't know what to do." And then when he was like, "We're just gonna shoot it. We're gonna find a studio. We're gonna design it. We will purposely make it look a certain way, and it'll be all practical." And I was like, "Okay." I was at a gala, and then I bump into the producers of another movie I did, and they're like, "Celia, you should come check out our studio. We just got like volumetric walls put up."
You're like
And I was
what?
like,
Wow.
"Yeah, volumetric's wall put up." And they're
Mm.
like, "Yeah." I was like, "What have you been doing on the wall?" And they're like, "Just corporate videos. Like, they're like quite boring. I'm looking for something cool to do." And I'm like, "You're looking for something cool to
Mm.
do."
That's where the producer hat comes in.
Yeah.
And then I set up a meeting between Winnie and the studio, and then they got along really well. They work out a deal where they're like, they will help us out as, and then they'll come on as like a producing like company as well. So they're called Planet X Studios,
Ah,
based out of Brooklyn.
interesting.
They're
Yeah.
So we did it on the volumetric stage.
Not wow, that's pretty awesome. Um, just as a footnote, we might see more of this in the future. I did a USC MFA project,
Mm-hmm.
and Kino out here, they basically gutted out a honey wagon and put screens inside.
Well, that's smart.
So it's totally portable, and you can fit a car. Like, it's not a honey wagon, but you know what I'm talking about. One of those
The
transpo
trailer,
trucks,
yeah.
yeah. But you can fit a car in and
Mm.
do a complete 360 wraparound and a roof thing. So I think that's the next thing, the mobilization of the volume
Yeah, that would be cool.
for stuff like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
so they came on, they helped us.
Nice.
We did some trades where we helped them as well, and then we got last call done.
Amazing
Nice.
story. Like, and you even in the story you were telling just about your kind of coming up through the business, it is clear you do have like a producer natural talent, right? Because you're one of the questions I was going to ask you is like, is everybody so nice in this business? Because that's not what I always typically hear,
Mhm.
and yet you were able to like forge relationships, get advice from people routinely, and now that's coming in and paying dividends to actually getting films made.
Well, I
So
mean, Ben, don't you think all the people I've brought into, they're all nice people. They're not all Hollywood people.
well, this is what I would say, and obviously I'm biased toward our podcast. What I would say is like the Asian American community within this business is a very
Oh yeah, we
friendly,
tight.
tight community, right? But that is not the experience that I think is ubiquitous across the entire
Mm-mm.
filmmaking industry.
I will add something to that. I think it became a lot tighter around 2018, 2017,
Sure.
2018. Around 10 years ago, or maybe 11 now. Oh my God, I'm getting old. I did this movie called Revenge of the Green Dragons. It's actually the first bigger film I did.
Was Leo in that?
Yeah,
Leo? Yeah, yeah, Leo's in
yeah.
that.
Leo
Yeah, yeah.
played
Commander.
Leonard
Yeah.
played my boyfriend in it.
Okay, I did see the movie. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But yeah,
So
Revenge of the Green Dragon. Yes.
at the time, everyone thought, "Wow, this is going to be a groundbreaking movie." Directed
Mm-hmm.
by the director who did Infernal Affairs, which turned into The Departed. Martin Scorsese's
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
it. He's our EP
Right.
on it. A24 bought the film. It's going to be an A24 film. And on the day of our premiere at TIFF, one person broke the embargo and then started
Mm.
going after our film and was like, I don't trust that these little Asian kids look like gangsters. I don't believe that they can kill people, blah, 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 blah. And
Mm.
it was quite bad. But I was like, if anyone else noticed, the Chinatown gangsters in the 80s or the 90s, they were kids. They were 16. And most of the ones that did the killing were 16 because they won't be trialed as an adult, which wasn't true. Um, but yeah, that's most of Green Dragons were just kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that went out, and then a bunch of people follow suit, was saying that no, and then the Asian community wasn't strong enough. There wasn't like a Gold House, there wasn't
Mm-hmm.
organizations to back us up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the movie didn't do much. Like we have a theatrical
Mm-hmm.
release, no one knew about it, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we did well enough that there was bootleg DVDs all over Chinatown.
yeah,
And like I was walking down Chinatown, people are like, "Oh my God, Big Sister Bobo," and I was like,
yeah.
"No, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no. That's a
That's
character. I am not a gangster. I am Celia." And in
that's how we
Chinatown for a while,
Asians distribute films, right? So
yeah. So I was like, in a way, we're successful for on the bootleg
yeah.
side. Um, and then like we did a little tour with the film. We went
Mm-hmm.
to different film festivals. Then we did a special
Right.
Queen screening because Green Dragons was based out in like Amherst. At the screening, I was standing in the back room, and people are like, "Oh my God, they made a movie about us." And I was like, "Oh God, who are these people?" They're like,
Mm.
this is our childhood. This was our teenage years, and they started coming out and talking about it. And I was like, I wish we had a voice that way. We had the press that cared for that because we did a bunch of press. We went on a press tour.
Right.
It didn't hit any general market. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
got covered up. And then years later, I was talking to some of my close friends, and then, like, at the time I didn't know them. They're like, "Hey, I want to apologize," and I was like, "For what?" They're like, "I finally watched Green Dragons." I'm like, "All right, cool, but why do you have to apologize?" They're like, we had a different mindset back in the day because there's not a lot of stuff for Asians. When there's one, we are all competing for it, right? And a lot of us are up for it. And when I didn't get it, I was so upset. I was like, I won't support it because I didn't get it. And my friend was like, I was so wrong. But when you grew up in a time where there's a scarcity mindset and there's only one job out there, and he was like, I understand now, like that's not the way to go, but at the time, it's something that a bunch of us felt, and this is why we didn't support the film.
And
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
logical, right? I imagine as actors, if you follow kind of typical the way Hollywood has traditionally cast roles or diversity roles, right? It's okay. We need one Asian actor only for this show. What you're doing is you're putting up all the Asian actors up against each other, right? It's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
natural thing. So I can understand that competitive mindset. Whereas now it feels like, to your point about a little bit of a shift happening, not just the events you're talking about, but then of course we've seen all Asian cast shows and films, not as much as we'd still all like, but more often we're okay, maybe there's roles for all of us. And that
Yeah,
hopefully is the direction that we head. We started this conversation a little bit with, you were on this trajectory and then COVID has kind of slowed things down. And we were having a funny conversation before we started recording about how difficult it is to be an American right now to get work. So it's not like Asians getting work, but right now it's just hard for Americans. I mean, so beyond Last Call, and we'll close the show for sure with talking about how to see Last Call and upcoming events. But I know you're working on other things. Like, what's it been like for you as you try to navigate this business, as this business is so hard to define right now?
Oh my God, this business doesn't matter what race you are or what gender you are. When you're hot, everyone wants you. When you're not, no one cares about you. I think that's just given in this business.
Mm-hmm.
And
Probably more amplified now with social media too.
absolutely.
Right.
It's actually
I can really tell.
I have never
ups and downs.
experienced it, or like no one has told me this yet, but I've had friends, non-Asians, were telling me I lost a job because I don't have enough followers.
Oh yeah, I remember when we started seeing that in like audition questionnaires, like, how many followers do you have on Instagram?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck you. I'm spelling that out. Fuck you.
Yeah. Junko's talked about this before for sure. Yeah.
So that's a huge kind of punch in the
change.
gut.
Yeah.
Another thing is like, because like partially I'm like, how do I get more followers? I don't understand how this works. Like I post all like my cooking videos. I post me about me. At the time when I had a publicist, she was like, you have to have a post every week, stories every single day. And I was like, I don't know, like, can I post about like me just hanging out, or like how curated does everything have to be?
Well, and I'll tell you what, it just, that strategy alone doesn't work for everybody. As a straight, boring Asian male, me doing that gets me like 1 follower a month. So I think I need to like drop some cash in there or something. The only way it's gonna happen.
Yeah, so like then they want you to grow it organically as well, right? So like I see a rise of followers every time I have a show out, or like something that like comes out that excites people. And like actually, sorry, going backtrack a little bit about like supporting each other Asians as well. We were pit against each other for when Wu Assassins came out. They were like, "Oh, Warriors coming out. Like, which Asian show do you like?" And we're like, "Ew, what?" So then we decided, the cast of Warrior, who are friends of ours, as you know, Ben.
Yep.
We're like, hey, we should do something. We support each other.
Yeah.
Like, launch this. So we did a little video where like they're like the cast of Warriors like, you gotta watch Wu Assassins on Netflix, and then they start talking about Wu Assassins. Then our cast did a whole video as well, and be like, you guys need to watch Warrior. You guys support each other.
Yeah, nice.
That's
Nice.
great.
I can see Jason like I can see Jason Tobin being like, screw them. Like, we're gonna support each other.
Liv, Jason, Diane, Chen, Perry.
Yeah.
They're all our friends.
Mm-hmm.
So in return, we did the same video, and then we released it like Wu Assassins. Like,
I think I remember that. Yeah,
Warriors supporting each other,
and it was a great celebration instead.
Yeah, we need to stop pitting, or people need to stop pitting us against each other. It's not.
Yes.
It's not the Asian community. It's people in general. Like if you have a vampire show and then there's another one, then they're like, oh, which one do you like better? I was like, come on, there could be True Blood survived and Vampire Diaries survived.
Yeah.
It's we'll get back to letting you tell more of the kind of business part of the industry and what that's like, but just one more point on this. Like, Junko and I started this podcast right around the wedding banquet and the re-release, and I remember having a conversation like this with a couple actors, and one actor said this to me. He said, in reality, the US is only like 6% Asian, and that split, even though we tend to live in areas where it doesn't look like that, right? But the overall national population, and what happens is you have South Asians competing against East Asians for all these type of things as well. And if you imagine like how much we need to do to support each other's work, right? Like everybody needs to go see a movie like The Wedding Banquet for studios to keep making it. Like every Asian person has to do it because we actually just don't have the numbers for a faction, a faction of Asian ethnicities to go see it, right?
Yeah.
There needs to be. That's why Junko and I are very deliberately like, we've got to make sure our podcast has South Asians on from time to time. It
Yeah, and
has Pacific Islanders, right?
mixed race.
Because if we rely only on East Asians, we won't have enough audience to keep this thing going. So it is tough when you're talking about these moments in time where whether it's shows or casts or filmmakers are actually kind of working against each other, because really that brings down our whole effort, right? Everything that
Yeah.
we're trying to build.
But if you look at history itself, right? People are always pit against each other. It doesn't matter what race, gender, cultural background you have. And the thing is, how do you break that pattern?
Yep.
So someone needs to start supporting one another and show the people that this could be done. More than one of us could survive, and we're stronger together. Which is something
so
that
somewhere.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say. So somewhere there's a video on YouTube of the Wu Assassin cast giving shouts out to the Warrior cast, which is like the key to world peace. We just need people to watch that video, right?
But like, no, like we also need like the studio execs to know that more than one show can survive. You know?
Yeah. There's this. Yeah, especially with streaming. Oh Lord, there's room enough for everyone. And as we've seen, like a show might not, might get canceled at networking and picked up at one of the streaming platforms like that.
Absolutely.
Stephen Colbert. Anyway.
Yeah, like absolutely. Like if you think about this, right? Like I've been actually doing a lot of like deep diving and during the pandemic, do you guys remember Clubhouse?
Yeah. I have
don't remember.
some friends
What's
who
Clubhouse?
still use it. Oh, you don't know?
No.
Oh, Ben, where were you?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's an audio only platform, strictly audio, and it was really interesting because it was a cornucopia of different interest. It's like Reddit except only audio. And so, for example, at this point, my friend runs a voiceover actors workout thingy there, so she has her curated group. So some of my friends have continued their Clubhouse presence, but I think probably in like the entertainment space or voiceover space, Clubhouse has done really well, and the audio quality is really good, and the whole talking over each other's stuff is very natural sounding, so it's a good platform.
Yeah. So like we had a talk about Asian American representation. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding in that side of business. The people that have been in the business long enough would always be like, I don't care who you are. I'm so glad that you get a job because it's hard. We all know how hard it is to get a job. Then we have some younger actors. I think they're just young. And he goes like, you East Asians need to stop working so Southeast Asians can work. And I was like, hey man, if you booked an East Asian part, I'll be equally as happy for you. I wouldn't be like, oh, because he's Southeast Asian, don't go support it. And I was like, we need to stop tearing ourselves apart.
Yeah.
And which is something that I've seen a lot. And I understand. Here's the thing, like the scarcity mindset, right? I couldn't get a job. I haven't worked in a bit. I'm like, oh, will I ever work again?
Yeah.
But if we keep tearing each other apart, we're doing the job that what other people want us to do, so we can never rise. So what we need to stick together, support one another, so then we can rise up. Like a Southeast Asian that got an East Asian job, I'll be equally as happy. But I also hope that if an East Asian, because you're right for the part, gets the job, but the character was Southeast Asian, we will still go and support that.
Yeah. And I think that it kind of is reflective of what kind of places people are coming from, and they're especially young, they're in their 20s, what kind of upbringing they're coming from and what kind of environment they've already been queued up to be competitive and to think everything has to be competitive. But for example, with Wu Assassins and Team Warrior, like doing exchange and being supportive and really putting that on social media, it is a lead by example. to the younger kids, and even just be more explicit and just I think sometimes like on when we would all do like in-person auditions, like we would see other friends in the audition room and take a photo together. And I think that's also really supportive of each other. And actually, one of my good friends, Kelvin Hani, one of our, Kelvin. Yeah. So I just did a Kelvin episode. He talks about the same exact thing too. Yeah. Except with that Kelvin gusto.
Yeah. I mean, there's two things that you both talked about that I could have jumped into this podcast and thought you were just talking about like immigrants and how immigrants are stealing jobs, right? Like, so in terms of people and where they're coming up from and what's in the media, right? This type of dynamic is just happening everywhere, and people are forming those type of unfortunate opinions. The other thing though is kind of a whole different angle, which is I would imagine like young actors just maybe don't appreciate what everyone's been through to get us to where we've been. And
the whole point of being young and dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Like until, frankly, Crazy Rich Asians, right, and Everything Everywhere, we just didn't have great representation. Now there's jobs, so they probably think, oh, okay, I can get a job.
Here's the
Not a
thing, we
problem.
did. We had people that fought really, really, really hard along the way, but we always forget about them. And I was like, here's the thing, Anna May Wong was a star in Hollywood in the 1920s.
Sure. Yeah.
She cut down some of the trees for us, right? Not a perfect road, was not paved. She cut down some of the trees. And then I forgot the name of the Japanese actor who was the heartthrob.
Sessue Hayakawa, or are you talking about James? James
Sessue Hayakawa.
Sessue. Okay, because just for context for everyone listening, we're talking about early 20s silent film actors, and then I was trying to go also to our elders or our ancestors from the 50s and 60s. So
the people in the
would be
20s,
James Shigeta, for example. Yeah,
they had fans, they had a career. And then we cut to, let's like fast forward a little bit of time, then you have Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one point we're like, oh, that's the representation is Bruce Lee, and then that went away. Then we have people like Margaret Cho that did All American Girl, probably the first Asian TV show.
It is
right?
the first, yeah. Yep, it is the first.
And then in the 90s, I remember there's something called Martial Law with Sammo Hung.
Yeah. Sammo Hung, yeah.
It was Jackie Chan Adventures with Jackie Chan. I grew
Yeah.
up watching Jackie Chan Adventures. And there's this wave, but then we forget about them. Like Michelle Yeoh was a Bond girl in the 90s.
Yeah.
We forget all about
not
them.
the first Asian Bond girl, but I think it's definitely a different landscape now. But as we were talking about, it's I'm interested in, if I were to debate a little bit, right, what you said about hey, there can be more than one Asian show on television.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we in today's industry? I don't know what the truth is, right? Because we've seen Brother Sun, American Born Chinese, Interior China, all of them one and done, right? One season done.
Wu Assassins included.
Wu Assassins, right? Warrior, fought really hard to get a third season, So where is, I would like to think that we can support more, but I also think there are analytics involved, and I think this just goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that Asians need to watch these shows, right? And some Asians aren't watching these shows, so let alone a broader
it's not
audience.
just Asian, it's just the population
Broader
needs to watch
audiences, yeah.
these shows,
Yeah.
It's it's so competitive out there right now, though, with streaming.
Yeah.
Like things get buried. Like, like Daniel Day Kim, he has his Amazon show, Butterfly.
yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah, but it's like total like being in LA right now, I don't think I've seen, not like
You're
I've
not getting
driven
a lot of promotion.
Yeah, or it hasn't been.
Yeah.
It's been
Well,
because we talk about it, but not
yeah.
in the
No, it's
marketing.
true. And look at Pachinko on Apple TV, right? Like just an amazing show that they got no Emmy noms or like one Emmy nomination because they did zero promotion of it. So something is still broken. but I do appreciate people like you, Celia, and Winnie, who are the filmmakers, right? People that are trying to make good content, because I think part of the answer here is, okay, now that we're getting these opportunities, it doesn't excuse the fact that you can't make good content. You have to make good content. People
I
have to
agree.
watch it, and it has to be broader than just expecting an Asian only audience.
Absolutely. I can only like say this about like if you put say like something like beef are just two flawed people. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter if they were Asians or not. They were
yeah,
just flawed people. And I kind of like that personally
yeah, yeah.
because we're not heavily relying on like, oh, Asian, but rather than characters and people,
Hmm.
people being
Yep.
people.
Hmm. That's why
Yep.
the season 2 is kind of a
Yeah.
different
You can
casting.
bring in cultural elements once you have them cast, but they weren't cast necessarily because they had to play Asian characters. And I think that's what we're all aspiring to, have more of those type of roles.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. What kind of
absolutely.
projects do you have outside of Last Call that you're working on?
Well, I have a feature film that I shot starting, I think it took 5 years to finish. Another
Mm.
independent film. It
Hmm.
started in 2018. We finished it last year. Oh, maybe more
Mhm.
than 5 years.
No, that's a good
Coming out at
it's a
Greenpoint
good
Film
journey.
Festival.
Nice.
It's doing this showing on the 8th. And that film is unique by itself because we traveled around the world on a no budget film basically.
Mm.
We started in New York and Brooklyn, and the director was writing the script as he was going. He's a German director.
Oh. Ah, okay.
So we started in Brooklyn, and then we were in Pennsylvania, and then we were in New Hampshire,
Hmm.
then we were in India, and then we ended in Mexico.
Mhm.
So again,
Yeah.
he works in like he's a boom operator normally. Save his money as a boom operator, and then when he has a chunk of money, he goes and shoot a part of it. And then he comes back, goes back to work and make money and then shoot another
Yeah.
part of it. That's why
Yeah,
it
pretty
takes
Mhm.
much.
so long.
Yeah, that's like this. That's pretty much like the life cycle,
Yeah,
right?
of
And then
storytelling.
when you're not, yeah, of yeah, within
How to get a film made.
and being
Yeah.
like, yeah, in this realistic capitalistic world.
Yeah.
Are you
Well,
It is.
are you playing a character? Are you a lead actor in this film? And are you
yeah,
allowed to
I'm one of
say
the
what the
lead
name
actors.
is?
Huh?
Are you allowed to say the name of the film?
Oh yeah, it's called The Silence in Between.
Okay. Sounds in
Yeah.
between. Perfect. Okay.
I don't know how the film is. I haven't watched it yet, but like that
Mm,
experience was insane. Like we bonded over like traveling and getting bullied by
yeah.
monkeys in India,
Yeah.
and like everyone now know I loved food. It was really funny. When we were in Mexico, they found uni on the beach, like
Yeah.
sea urchins,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, uni!" and and then our DP goes, "Don't eat them," and he started throwing them back into the ocean. I was like, I didn't even say I want to eat them yet. And he was like, I know you would, Celia.
Yeah, yeah, you would. He was not wrong.
Yeah, so I really appreciate these filmmakers, like independent filmmakers, are hustling to tell their stories. I
Mhm.
wish that there's a bigger platform for them, so their stories could be heard. I'm so excited, and I'm so proud of Winnie's feature being like coming out on Shutter, and that's a
Mhm.
huge deal. Um, I hope that Last Call will open, doors for her so she can write her story. She is a fascinating storyteller. I mean, Ben, it haunted you, so
It
7 minutes
still haunts
short.
me. I remember every second of every minute of that film. And and you're lovely in it. I mean, I guess I don't know, do we have time to get into this question? I mean, was it a big decision for you, cuz it's not like sexual nude scenes that you're doing necessarily, but was it a big thing for you to take off your clothes for a film at this stage of your career, or did it feel very natural to you?
I didn't take off any clothes.
Are you sure? Or is
It's
it
movie
the
magic.
Oh, it is movie magic. I Okay, I have to rethink that. We might just have to edit this out if I'm completely wrong then. But yeah.
Ah.
Well, anyway, yeah, Winnie is a
That's the power of storytelling, right? You're so engaged in it that you think something is happening, but
Yeah,
It
yeah.
might be just a
Uh,
suggestion.
just to give a little bit more flavor of Last Call, what do you want the takeaway to be of your performance in that? It's a 7-minute short, but you're in it from the beginning to the end. Mm-hmm.
I think it would be pretty cool if someone watches the film and be like, "Wow, I feel like I'm being heard and I'm being seen." I think that's
Mm-hmm.
more important than
Hmm.
anything else. And going back to what I say, the power of storytelling, right? And if I am able to change just the life of someone just a little bit, superpower accomplished. You know?
So I guess a couple people might be like, I didn't get to sleep because I watched it right before going to bed. So you could be
Yeah.
laughing at it. I knew you would do that. I knew you would do that.
No, but like
That's the other
even
superpower you have now.
Claudia is a flawed person. You know, Claudia is someone that has gone through trauma, and she has find the light on the other end of the tunnel. So if people see that and relate to that, I think mission accomplished for Winnie and
Yeah.
for me. You know.
Yeah. Yeah,
And actually,
fantastic.
quick question for the very, very last shot. Was that shot in the volume MOS? And when he was directing you, was there already music to accompany that last
Oh
shot? Was there music reference? Was it a sound reference or was it Winnie giving you direction? And just for layman terms, so MOS is when there's no
no sound.
when the director knows that there's going to be no sound recorded. So there's a lot of flexibility. And a lot of times what will happen, for example, with like child actors or whatever, and the director just wants a look, they will keep coaching them from the side. For example, so that's certain techniques that are used. But I was wondering, because it looked like you hit a couple beats. I wasn't sure if that was discussed beforehand or if she was just shouting things at you, or you were following the music and she was just like, interpret it.
Winnie is a very musically in tune person, so
Mm.
all the music is written by her husband.
Oh,
While we were
nice.
on set, Dan has mixed a sample track of what he think the script would be, like from the script,
Interesting.
what he thinks the
Mm-hmm.
sound would be. It's actually
Mm-hmm.
quite different from the final product. But we were playing the music to get the
Mm.
crew and all the actors
Nice.
in that kind of mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the very last scene, we played the music. It was MOS. We did it a couple of different times, a couple of different ways. Winnie was telling me what she wants, and then she was like, I think I want a couple of beats. And then she narrated. She was like, "Hey, I want you hit this beat at this time." And I was like, "Point at me or just scream it so I would know because I don't know what the timing of your edit's gonna be."
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then she screamed like, "I need you to be this." So I did
This.
that,
Yeah.
and then like go do
Okay.
this second, and then like end here.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. So this is just a little bit of a little pulling back the curtain and just being
That's a good
a
nugget.
little
It's a
technical
good nugget.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I love it.
Celia, I'm glad we did this. We've been emailing for a while, so it's super exciting to see. And for those that happen to be in Montreal and are able to get over to Fantasia, you can see Last Call, and I'm sure there'll be other ways to see this down the road, and we'll keep people informed of that. Um, Celia, we could talk to you for hours, so we'll have to have you on again. This has been a real fun conversation. Junko, you want to close us out?
Yes. Well, first of all, I didn't realize we were tank top twinsies today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because we're united by rice, we always ask this one question. And what is your favorite rice dish? Including
Oh,
rice noodles, because that is rice too. It could be your favorite right now. It could be your favorite of all time.
favorite rice dish.
Favorite when you're stressed, like what feels good,
Clay pot
when you
rice
Mm.
with okay, this with like all the Chinese sausages and like Chinese like what do you call that dried meat?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
uh
my own personal touch, I would love a salty egg yolk on the top.
uh
Hmm.
salty egg yolk. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. It's kind of like a combination of the normal hambao plus sticky rice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sounds great.
Mm.
I love that.
Sounds
Yum.
great. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh my god,
Well,
I
on
just got
that note,
hungry.
Yeah, on that note, I
And
think
it's
I'm gonna go
late
eat
over
dinner.
there too.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Celia. We'll connect with Winnie separately. Good luck next week.
Thank you.